So this just in, sad news today for the black family, for black people, for black women especially, but there will be no federal charges, U.S. federal charges for that matter, that will be filed against the Cabo Six that unfortunately unalived Miss Shanquella Robertson over there in Mexico. We need to really talk about this because it's a lot to discuss. Let's Jost.
Come on, Blazer.
It's the beat for me.
Wah 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 for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Drop it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Do it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Come on, baby, we are.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Voodoo, and I'm back with a quick little joke. This gonna be a serious one, though. This isn't one to joke around with. This isn't reality show stuff. This is reality. This is real life of black women. So I just found out today while I was at work, and I couldn't wait to get home, that there will be no federal charges filed in the case of the Cabo Six versus Shanquella Robinson. I'm sorry, I think I said her name wrong earlier. And y'all, please forgive me if you hear that sound in the background. I think they're cutting trees in my neighborhood, but nevertheless. If you guys have been living under a rock and don't know, Shanquella Robinson went over to Mexico, Cabo, I believe it was, to do a vacation with 6 of her friends. They ended up having a video on social media, preferably Twitter, that was released showing that she was jumped by these people and ultimately unalived. Now, even though there was actual video evidence, a couple of the friends came back to her mother's house and even called and asked for prior to coming, I'm sorry, they called and asked for money for medical procedures, saying that she just had a hangover, or she was just drunk and had too much to drink. It turns out that these were the people who allegedly were involved directly in her unaliving. Now, we don't know exactly what happened, but we do have a video showing that she was beat. She was not having a fight. She did not fight back. She was beat by maybe 1 or 2 of her so-called friends that she was out in Cabo with. Well, nevertheless, the ball was dropped as usual. So there was a lot of misconceptions and confusions about what actually happened. Mexico basically said originally that she had alcohol poisoning. They said that there was a nurse called to the scene. The nurse came and said she was responsive. And then it turns out via autopsy from her dad when she got back to the States that was impossible, that she had basically suffered spinal cord injuries. She had swelling on the brain. It was a whole bunch of things that was going on with Miss Shanquella Robinson. And it was kind of like a ping pong and a go-between on how to prosecute and who would prosecute. It was one of those sticky situations where they were U.S. citizens, but the crime was committed on Mexican soil. So it was kind of hard for the U.S. to prosecute them for a crime committed on Mexican soil. Yet the country of Mexico, it was hard for them to prosecute the people, the Cabo Six, because they were already back on American soil. So we were sitting here waiting. I did a story on this. If you guys can go back in my channel, I did a story on this, trying to follow it, see what's going on. We get all the way up to here, and we are being told that there would be no charges filed because there's a lack of evidence. When I tell you I am beyond livid right now, you mean to tell me that other people can go missing in America and other countries and all over the world, and their crime somehow gets solved, although they share a lighter skin, right? A skin tone, or maybe a lighter race. Let's just call it what it is. Yet when our people go over, whether it's crime being committed by our people or not, things fall by the wayside. And that absolutely disgusts me. I don't know Shanquella's background, nor do I care. What I do know is a black woman was unalived, and these people, the Cabo Six, are walking free. No, nothing. They're just probably at the mall hanging out right now, as far as we know. I'm gonna get into an article. Let's get into the article that basically was released earlier today from the federal government, basically saying why they will not be pressing charges and all the things that they found. So let's get into that article. So now this article is from the DOJ, or what we would call the United States Department of Justice. And this is the United States Attorney Sandra J. Hairston and Dina J. King. Dina sounds black, but nevertheless, let's get into the article. So it says, for immediate release, Wednesday, April 12, 2023. Federal officials meet with the family of Shanquella Robinson, Charlotte, North Carolina. Federal officials with the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Middle and Western Districts of North Carolina and FBI met with the family of Ms. Shanquella Robinson and family representatives to offer their condolences and present the findings of the federal investigation into the death of Ms. Robinson. The investigation into the circumstances surrounding the unaliving of Miss Robinson has been priority to federal prosecutors and the FBI. The FBI has worked diligently to conduct a detailed and thorough investigation and evidence available in this case. In coordination with Miss Robinson's family, an autopsy was conducted in the United States by a medical examiner's office in Minkling County. As in every case, under consideration for federal prosecution, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a federal crime was committed. Based on the results of the autopsy and after careful deliberation and review of the investigation materials by both U.S. attorneys' offices, federal prosecutors informed Mrs. Robinson's family today that the available evidence does not support a federal prosecution. The unaliving of Miss Robinson has been incredibly difficult for her family and the community. As a matter of policy, federal officials generally do not issue public statements concerning the status of an investigation. However, given the circumstances of Miss Robinson's unaliving and the public concern surrounding this investigation, it is important to reassure the public that experienced federal agents and seasoned prosecutors extensively reviewed the available evidence and have concluded that the federal charges cannot be pursued. As in any case, the government is prepared to review and examine new information related to the investigation should it become available. Okay, so this is what the federal government is saying. This is an official statement issued by them. And basically, for lack of better terms, they're basically saying that, hey, we looked into it, and as far as to pursue a federal prosecution, we don't have enough evidence. That's basically what they're saying. Now, the ball was dropped so many different places. There's a lot of back and forth on social media about who's to blame. And I'll tell you, everybody's to blame. And I'll say, when I say everybody, I mean the United States and Mexico. But at the end of the day, we don't have jurisdiction in Mexico. So we got to deal with what's on our soil right here. Mexico originally dropped the ball by allowing these people to leave and also by misidentifying the unaliving of Miss Robinson, period. I believe everything over there, and this is my belief, but I believe that everything over there can be bought, given that it's one of those countries that is not the most wealthy. And Americans come over there and they have more money than a lot of these people make in a year, and everything can be bought. And that's just what it is. But what I can deal with and what I have to deal with is what's happening on American soil. Once the case was found out, after we made a big hoopla on social media, American justice folk, I'm trying to find a correct vernacular or words to use, but American justice folks dropped the ball. They sat and they waited on it. They waited. Too much time for people to get rid of evidence. Too much time for people to get rid of text messages. Too much time for people to do all types of things, come up with stories, create scenarios, everything. And now here we are, because this happened last year in 2022. Here we are almost mid-2023. And now you tell me there's not enough, evidence to pursue anything federally. I believe if they had basically picked the ball up when they first got it, they could have found so much more, so much other things could have happened. But again, this is who we vote into our doggone government. This is who we vote into our government. Black women with the chucks and pearls. I was there. I didn't vote, but I was there. I was there for the chucks and pearls movement. We voted this office into office, right? Yet, when one of us is unalived, nothing happens. Something happens to someone of any other race or ethnicity, and there's a whole bill. There's Stop Asian Hate. There's Stop This and Stop That. And what do we get? At what point do we look at ourselves and say, you know what? I'm tired of getting nothing for nothing. You know what I mean? I'm giving my everything and I'm getting nothing in return. You have these people, the federal government, first of all, this is what we know. The feds ain't never been on the people's side. They are not there to serve the people. And that's just a matter of fact. But in this situation, we've seen them work for other people. And I'm not saying that ultimately it should work for us, even though it should. But we know we're in reality. We got to face reality. And reality dictates that that's just not the case. As per usual, Black women have to fight harder than any other demographic on the face of the earth to get some sort of justice. I hate that for us. I absolutely hate it for us. Before I get on a rant that's going to get me in trouble, let's go into this press conference that I guess the family attorney had. And I'm going to come back with more commentary, because another thing I want to touch on is us having these token Black folk standing next to us during our time of dire need and hoping and thinking that something's going to change when nothing has changed. This has been going on for years, generations. At one point, we gonna wake up. But let's get into this doggone clip of the attorney, and I'll come back with further commentary.
Hey everybody, thank you again. Thank you, Mario. Thank you for having us, Pastor. We really, truly appreciate it. We're here today. Obviously, everyone knows that the FBI has released their statement indicating that they don't plan on filing any charges after investigating Shanquella's case. So we're here today. We're disappointed, but we're not deterred. It's not something that's necessarily unexpected in the sense that black and brown people always have to carve their own path to justice. Today, just sitting in the meeting with the family, listening to what we were being advised and listening to what the so-called investigation was revealing, I thought back to Miss Wanda, Ahmaud's mother, who had to take her case to the state attorney's office and had to beg for charges to be pressed in the death of her son. And I remembered Sandra Bland's mother, who had to do the same thing when they told us all that an investigation revealed that her cause of death was suicide. And I think most about in Shanquella's case, because her attack was captured on video, and now we're being told that there isn't going to be an arrest, or there aren't going to be any charges brought. It reminds me of George Floyd and how we were told that while we were watching with our own eyes Derek Chauvin putting his knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, we were being told that he was having a heart attack and that he was suffering from a drug overdose. So while we're here disappointed, we're not deterred. We're going to continue to press on. We're going to continue to demand that there's a high level of diplomatic intervention in this case, that if the U.S. authorities are now again telling us, oh, well, it's back on Mexico because Mexican authorities have to do something, we don't have a problem with that. We know that we have to carve our own path to justice, and we've been doing that from the very beginning. Mrs. Robinson has demonstrated tremendous strength, and I talk about it all the time, as well as Quilla, her sister, having to bury a child, grieve for a child, get through all of that stuff, and then fight for justice for your child at the same time. And then being advised today, well, despite there being a video showing a vicious and brutal attack of your child while she's naked and obviously not fighting back, that there is nothing that can be done in terms of charges being filed by the FBI, that you have to seek your redress and your justice somewhere else. And that's fine. Mrs. Robinson, again, is obviously disappointed, as is all the family at the meeting today. But we're not deterred. We're still going to be marching. We're still going to rally in D.C. on May 19th, because it shouldn't be that in this country that black women, black and brown victims of crime have to do this every time they are victims of crimes, but it is unfortunately what it is. And again, any discrepancies or any issues with respect to Mexican autopsy versus the autopsy conducted by the FBI, all of those things are going to be a result of a delay. And now we're witnessing the result of a delay, which is why there was always a concern, which is why I always say this is the people's case, this is the people's movement that said, hey, there's no reason why a black woman should go on vacation with her friends, be returned to her family in a box, and nothing be done for 5 months, that the FBI be permitted to sit on their hands, that they be permitted to say, we're working, because justice delayed can be justice denied. We all know that and have seen it time and time again. And so that's why I say, on behalf of the family, again, we're very disappointed, very deeply disappointed. But we're not deterred, because it's something that we've seen before, and we know that we have to carve our own path to justice. Ms. Robinson knew that when she asked me to go on a fact-finding mission to Mexico, that we were obviously in a state of affairs where there's two different justice systems in America. And we know that in ours, we have to fight for our justice. We have to rally for our justice. We have to beg for the same constitutional rights. And Shanquella is doing that even in death. Even in death, she's having to fight for her rights as a U.S. citizen, as a victim of a crime. the U.S. authorities have to understand and have to know that even if for them it's not about Shanquella, that United States citizens cannot go to Mexico, commit a crime that we all saw on a video, and then come back to America and say, we're on base, we're safe, we're not going to be charged with a crime. That cannot be the message that the U.S. authorities want to send. So again, discrepancies caused or discrepancies in the autopsy results between Mexican authorities that we've all been discussing, unfortunately, and not being discussed by the right individuals, have all been caused by delays. If it had been taken serious from the very beginning, if the internet and the people and social media didn't have to create the movement behind the case, and the authorities would have gotten involved the minute the video surfaced, there wouldn't have been a delay. There would have been immediate statements taken from the individuals involved. There would have been time to take an immediate autopsy of the body before it was embalmed. All of those things would have been done, but because it was the death of a young, black, beautiful, brilliant, educated woman who was on vacation, justice was delayed. There was no investigation done. It was not taken seriously until the people had to say, hey, we're not going to accept that this is just what it is. This can't be just what it is. We see with our own eyes an attack, an assault, a crime happening, and nothing's being done. That came from you all. That came from the people saying, we demand answers. And today, we actually ended up with way more questions than answers. And so that's why I'm determined and fully aware, and the team, Ben Crump, Tamika Mallory, Untold Freedom, Mario Black, all of us, we stand with this family, and we're going to stand with this family till the very end. And we're going to be in Washington, and we're going to rally, because we understand, unfortunately, what the job is, what the work is, and that we have to carve our own path to justice in these cases. And we've seen it time and time again, and I've said it in other press conferences. I would like to be put out of this line of business. I don't want to be here on behalf of another beautiful black family begging for dignity and respect and basic constitutional rights. I don't want to be doing those things, but that is what it is right now. We have two separate justice systems, where one is, if you're a victim of a crime and you look a certain way, it's going to be covered by the media. It's going to be resolved in a certain way. And then we have our cases where we have to have press conferences and rallies, and we have to beg the government to intervene. And that's not okay. And that's why it's the most important work of our time. And so we're disappointed, we're not deterred, we're pressing on. We absolutely will keep you guys updated on everything that we're doing, but we're definitely pushing toward the 200th day to be in DC. We hope that everyone can join us, because the message cannot be that U.S. citizens can go overseas and commit crimes against other U.S. citizens and come back and say that they're on base, that they're safe, that they're not going to be arrested, that there's going to be such a delay in the investigation that the evidence will have time to dissipate, and they'll have time to change their stories or work on the evidence. That can't be the message, because this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we have U.S. constitutional rights, and there's victims' rights, and we're going to fight for that. We're going to fight for that whether the victim of the crime is Shanquella or whether it's any black woman. We're going to fight for that, because it's deserved. It's our right as U.S. citizens. So
I want to first start by saying thank you to the black woman, the attorney who's standing up for Miss Robinson and and her family in this time of need. Shout out to the black woman doing that, because as we know, if we don't do it ourselves, it ain't gonna happen. But you know what stuck out to me the most? That whole Benjamin Crump, Tamika Mallory gang. At what point do we see these people are not for us? These people are there for press release. These people are there for photo ops. These people are there just to make noise, but we get nothing from any of these people. And it's not just them. Your Al Sharptons, your Tamika Mallory's, your Jesse Jacksons, all these so-called Negro leaders who literally capitalize off of our pain. And just because they look like us don't mean they are there for us. And that's just the bottom line. Benjamin Crump ain't won a doggone case since we've met him in the George Floyd thing. And I don't care if he was co-counsel on this and co-counsel on that, or if he's co-counsel on this case. Get him out of your space. You know, there's a reason that Trayvon Martin's family was successful, if you want to call what their outcome was successful. And it's because they got him out of their space. We got to get these people that's coming down for these photo ops. We got to get these people out of our space. Another thing stuck out to me is, here we go marching on Washington. It ain't working. It ain't never worked. I don't want to hear nobody tell me, oh, it worked when Martin Luther King did it on the I Have a Dream speech. The I Have a Dream speech was not the catalyst for us to be desegregated, even though, in my opinion, we should have stayed where we were. But that's another topic for another day. That was not what brought us to where we are today. It was what was publicized, but it ain't what got us where we are today. How many times we gonna march? We gonna hold hands marching up to doggone Zion, or what we call the federal government, or the Capitol, and hold hands and sing kumbayas and we shall overcome, and then what? What are we gonna get from that? When do we start to do things that's gonna actually benefit us? When are we actually going to do things that actually benefit us, and actually has an outcome? I'm one who's always been told, and I tell it to other people, don't come with me with a problem if you don't have a solution already. So here's my solution. Let's make our stuff count. Let's make our voices count. I don't care about boycotting Mexico, because ultimately, yeah, you can do that. But I mean, how does that actually help for what's happening in this situation? My thing is, we need to start demanding the things that we want from these people that we're voting into office. And I'm not making this a political thing, but it is political. Our local authorities, our local electors, our local people in our government, write letters to your Congress, call, email, write letters, email, call these people, your local mayors, your local elected officials, all of them. Make it a big noise. Say something. Hold your vote hostage to these people until something is done about not only just this, but everything. I'll keep a lookout for any other updates. I'll be praying for Shanquella Robinson's family. Hopefully justice will be served. And Black women, let this be a lesson to us. Our voices not only need to be heard, but a change need to be made once our voices are heard. Once again, rest in peace, baby girl. And I'll keep you guys posted whatever other updates I get. And yeah, let's just work together, Black women, because if we don't, nobody else will. You guys drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on this situation. If you have any other updates that you may want to talk about, share. I may do a live coming up soon here, but yeah, y'all just drop down in the comments and let me know what y'all think about this whole situation, this misjustice that's happening to Miss Shanquella Robinson. And I'll see y'all later. Bye.